Now, let's have a look at tomorrow morning's front pages with the freelance journalist Guy Clapperton, who's with me in the studio. Thanks very much indeed for joining us.
Thank you for having me.
Good to see you. Let's start with the Independent you've chosen, and we won't reverse coalition cuts, says Ed Balls.
Yes, or does he? If you actually read the text, well, no, seriously, what he actually says in the text is that he and his colleagues in the shadow cabinet will not promise to reverse the coalition's cuts. Doesn't say they won't reverse them, he just says they're not making any promises just now, which I think is probably quite wise. Anybody who is in opposition cannot possibly know if the next election is 4 years away and the economic outlook is that uncertain. I wouldn't be making promises now based on stuff that I have no way of predicting. You know, they'll have to be putting stuff into their manifesto. I assume they'll start writing that around about 2013, publish it 2014, start making little backtracks, as all politicians will do during the course of 2014, 2015. So yes, it appears there's something very interesting going on here, though, that ever since the coalition came into power and has started the cutback programme, the opposition has been saying it wasn't that bad. It was, you know, the economy was growing, things were happening differently. You've spun this out of all proportion, the economic crisis. I think whatever your political standpoint is, this is the Labour Party, or this is at least Ed Balls saying the public has not bought that argument. That argument has now been lost. We've got to move on and present a different side and start re-establishing ourselves as the face of responsible tax, not the face of tax and spend. Elsewhere in the press, he's also saying that any money gained from any sale of bank shares that have been nationalised will go into paying down deficit, whereas previously a lot of Labour supporters and members were talking about ploughing those back into public services, spending them. They're now drawing a line under that as well.
Sure, I mean, it's all part of this wider narrative, isn't it, as the Labour Party conference gets underway in Liverpool, trying to show that Labour is fiscally responsible, they've got economic credibility, and you know, the public can start trusting them again on the economy.
I think my guess is that's all they've got to do for this particular conference. A lot of people have, in the press, have speculated and said this is the one that the new leader's got to get right. This is where Ed Miliband really sets out his stall. Actually, if the next election's 4 years away, what they've got to do is start creating a general feeling that they're trustworthy on the economy, and then start filling in the blanks a little closer to the election time.
All right. Okay, let's move on to the Daily Telegraph.
Yes.
And some of the changes that the government wants to bring in as regards welfare reform are apparently in jeopardy.
Well, in jeopardy, or not looking as financially solid as perhaps the government had hoped, or perhaps we'd all hoped. The idea was, this is Ian Duncan Smith's brainchild. It's the single credit, the universal credit system, whereby an awful lot of credits and social benefits are brought under one umbrella name. The idea being to eliminate about £5 billion worth of overpayments per year, and I'm sure if it is genuine overpayments, we're all in favour of that. Unfortunately, it's looking a bit less affordable and less deliverable on time, partly because the government has this list of policies which are at risk and may not be affordable, and it's crept up to the top, partly because the much to Liam Fox's apparent credit, according to the Telegraph, the defence stuff is actually looking less risky, so by default this particular credit has crept up the list to number one. But
sure.
It's you know, a lot of experts, a lot of people are suggesting that this is not going to be as easy to achieve, and of course if they can't deliver this on time, then they start looking a lot less credible.
And interesting, the Daily Telegraph is pushing this story as well.
Yes, I mean, I do wonder whether sometimes, you know, I'm as guilty of this as anybody, but you know, we typecast the papers rather glibly. You know, the Telegraph, you know, conservative supporting. It definitely is right of centre, but you know, when it reports and uncovers things, you know, they're not necessarily, you know, when it was dishing it to the government for the expenses scandals a couple of years ago, it didn't say the nasty Labour people were doing it. It was saying the nasty lot have been up to it, regardless of who they are and who's been in power. So maybe that's our interpretation of a bit of tribalism that perhaps isn't always there.
Sure. All right. Okay. Let's move on to the Financial Times.
Could we stay with the Telegraph for just a second? There was the other story we were going to talk about, the Saudi women gaining the vote.
Very important story indeed. We've been featuring this on the channel throughout the evening.
That's absolutely right. Now the question is why they're doing it. half of me says it doesn't actually matter why they're doing it. If women are getting a better deal in another country, I don't really mind about the motivation. They're getting a better deal. Important to bear in mind, these are only municipal elections. They're ruled directly by monarchy, so you don't get a say in the national government, whether you're male or female, but at least that's sort of equal. Telegraph raises the possibility that perhaps King Abdullah has had a look at the Arab Spring.
The Arab Spring,
thought, you know, I'm one step away from this geographically. How do I make sure it doesn't happen to me? Start making concessions now before the pressure builds too much. Maybe that's the reason. Maybe it's not.
Sure.
Very
I mean, it would seem eminently sensible on his part. But interestingly, there are municipal elections on Thursday, and this doesn't come in for 4 years. So.
No, that's correct.
OK, let's move on then now to the Financial Times.
Yes, indeed. A very small story buried in, well, not buried exactly, but tiny story on the Financial Times about what's happening this Saturday. Small business owners watching this programme may or may not be aware that as of this coming Saturday, October the 1st, if they are employing a temporary member of staff, if there's a temp on site and they've been there for 12 weeks or longer, they gain all the rights that an actual member of staff would have had. So you will be liable.
Sick leave, pension rights, all
sick
that kind
leave,
of stuff?
pension rights. I'm not sure about pension rights.
Pension
I haven't double
okay.
checked, but you could be right. But sick leave and holiday leave certainly, and a lot of the health and safety stuff. You know, the entitlement to a proper chair rather than you know being perched on the end of somebody's desk, as some temps are occasionally. All good stuff to protect people. I don't think it's been particularly well publicised. I talk to a lot of small business people in my line of work. I'm a small business journalist an awful lot of the time, and you know, you put this to them and they say, "Oh dear, when's that coming in?" And if you say Saturday, a lot of them, well, they don't exactly jump out of their skin, but they come very close.
Sure, indeed. And of course, this is all extra money that would have to be spent by businesses at a time when there's not a lot of money around.
It's extra money from that point of view. It's certainly extra rights and extra protection from people who can at times be quite exploited. So I'm in favour of it from that point of view. Very little in the way of financial help for people who are suddenly finding that a business that was just about affordable to keep ticking over may well not be in the future.
Sure. All right, let's move on to the Times here.
Yes, a lot of the papers have covered how the IMF is running short of money and may have to ask other countries such as ourselves, such as Germany, such as
the IMF needs a bailout.
Yeah, the IMF needs a bailout. Sorry, that's the gag I was getting to, but thanks for anticipating that. That's great.
I stole your thunder.
I nicked it from one of your producers anyway. It doesn't matter.
I think I nicked it from him as well.
I think we probably both did. Yeah, thanks for that. But in the background, the Times has found out that that there are plans being drawn out for a huge bailout from among Europe, for the IMF to actually broaden the amount of money available to it. Not to say that they're going to start asking countries directly for more money, but to say that they're sort of broadening their terms of remit, they're broadening their terms. There are people in Germany studying how they actually get at more money without taking it off the rest of us in terms of direct contribution. You can't help wondering if they could have done that anyway. Why haven't they?
Indeed, but a lot of the countries around the world that may be contributing to this kind of thing, they don't have any money anyway.
They don't, that's right. But if it turns out that there may be a mechanism whereby there can be a stopgap to I suppose to reassure people and to reinforce confidence so that perhaps they won't go to the wall and won't ask for it, then I'm beginning to talk myself into this, actually. I think it's quite a good idea.
You're convinced?
Yes, yes.
Still not sure I am, though. Clive Clapperton, it's good to have you in. Thanks for joining us.
Thank you.